After 5 years of minimalism, these are 50 of my top lessons and hacks for a simple, clutter-free life. You definitely don't need to do them all, but just pick a few and implement them into your life. The 2-day rule. I originally learned this from somebody who was on like Matt DiVella's podcast, I think like 5 years ago. And that is to simply never skip 2 days in a row. I've kind of moved it to 3 days in a row because I only go to the gym like 3 days a week and like the math anyways. But it's pretty much if you're trying to start a new habit, you're trying to be consistent because that's like where most growth comes from. Don't miss 2 days in a row. You're trying to go to the gym, 5 days a week. It's okay to miss 1 day. Just don't let that 1 day turn into 2 days, turn into 3 days, turn into 4 days, turn into 5 days. So just make sure that you don't miss twice. And for me, I turn it into the 3-day rule. So if I go to the gym Monday, it's okay if I don't go again till like Thursday or whatever. It's okay to like be a little bit flexible, but just don't let whatever habit you're trying to start that could improve your life fail because you miss multiple days in a row. Just set a limit where you're never gonna miss more than 2 days or more than 3 days. And that's how you keep habits going for a long time. The nightly reset. I hate this light, dude. This is one of my favorite habits of all time, and that is just every night before you go to bed, get rid of all the dishes that are in the sink. Put them in the dishwasher, wash them, do whatever. If there's stuff on the counter, put stuff on the counter away. If there's stuff on the floor, put the stuff on the floor away. Literally taking 5 minutes and resetting your house, even if it's like not the best cleaning job, it's just like basic picking stuff up. It makes such a difference for the next morning and just like not letting things get out of hand. We have 2 small kids now, so things can get like crazy really fast, and just 5-minute cleanups before bed every night, never letting the house be a complete wreck before you go to bed, really helps it not getting out of hand. And then you start the day stressed, and it's like this whole thing, you're cleaning first thing in the morning. It makes a really big difference. The house on fire rule. Most people only use about 20% of their possessions 80% of the time. There's been tons of studies on this. It applies to almost everything in life, including, your clothes, the time you spend at work that actually leads to making money. Like there's so many different ways that this 20% matters, but especially in minimalism, when you're going through your house, you're gonna find that 20% of the things scattered throughout your house you use most of the time. And if you just get rid of that 80%, or at least 50% of the 80%, you're probably not even gonna notice that most of that stuff is gone. So especially when I was starting my journey, I was honestly looking for that 80% that I just like hardly ever used, and got rid of most of that stuff. And that way, almost everything that I have, I use, and it provides some type of service or value, or saves me time, or makes me happier, or makes my life easier. And the rest of the stuff is just stuff, like I let it go. Use the 20-20 rule. This pretty much just states that if you can replace something for under $20 in under 20 minutes, just let it go. And obviously you don't want to be wasteful with that, but if you've got 27 mugs and you haven't used most of them in like 6 months or a year, but every once in a while you have 27 people come over and you need every one of those mugs, like it's okay, just let it go. It makes a lot of decisions a lot easier when you're decluttering to just let it go. I don't even know 27 people. I literally don't think I know 27 people. The box. This is one of my favorite things ever. I've been doing it for years, but I just have a box right here pretty much constantly. And as we go through our house and we find something that apply to some of these other rules and we want to get rid of it, we want it out of our house, but we're not decluttering right now, it just goes into the box. And then once a month, once every couple of weeks, whatever it is, take the box, we donate the box, we restart the cycle. And that keeps a constant flow of stuff we don't use going out of our house, and keeps our house from getting cluttered and us having just a bunch of crap around that we don't use. Invest different. This is the worst frame shot I've ever had in my life. We're gonna go with it. Since getting into minimalism and really trying to focus and find the things that actually matter, which is not very much, we've stopped investing in stuff, especially for birthdays, Christmas, all that type of things. And instead, we've started investing in freedom and also experiences. So we take our money, instead of spending stuff, we try to buy ourselves freedom by investing that money, or buying ourselves memories and experiences, like traveling. A lot of times you can do that really cheaply. You don't need to spend a lot to have that. Or going, to the park, or going for a walk, or doing things outside instead of going, shopping or spending money on stuff. A lot of times the free option or the cheap option or the experience option is almost always going to beat out the buying somebody clothes. And we do that with Christmas too. Instead of buying people stuff, we generally try to buy an experience where we'll either all go do something together, we'll give them a gift card to actually do something, as opposed to just random crap that they're going to get rid of in a couple months. Have a home rule. This one is actually pretty simple, and that's simply stating that everything in your house should have a home. Now that sounds really easy, except that a lot of times there's stuff that doesn't have a home and it just ends up sitting on, like there's actually 2 boxes we have right now where like, I don't know what to do with this stuff, but we need to store it. So I don't know what to do with it, but I'm going to figure it out, because I have this rule in my house that everything has to have a home. The coffee cup has a home where it goes so that it doesn't get left on the counter, doesn't get left on bookshelves. My keys, my wallet, the kids' toys, everything has a place where it belongs. items so that stuff just doesn't get left around, because a lot of times I noticed that I was just leaving crap around because I didn't know what to do with it. If that's you, take some time to actually make a home for everything that you own, and things will just magically stop getting left around because you can put them back. Work Smata, not Hada. When I started actually automating as many things in my life as possible and actually learning how to use tools to save me time, I started saving an insane amount of time, because I always used to think that like work harder, that's going to solve all my problems. Totally not true. It turns out about 20% of the efforts lead to about 80% of the results. 80-20 rule again, right there. And it's very true. And there's also a ton of things that just completely waste our time. So I automated all of my bills. I automated as many things with work as I possibly could. I learned how to use tools like AI as they come out, and I try to stay on top of them, because a lot of them can save you an insane amount of time with your work. And especially if you do work for yourself, you have some type of business, the important thing is that stuff gets done, not that it gets done in like this perfect like A, B, C, D, E, X, G. As long as we get to G, it doesn't matter how you got there. And that's been really something I'm focusing on, is finding ways to save as much time as possible on things that just don't matter at all. I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to do it. I'm not just going to do it because this is the way I've always done it. Work smarter, not harder. Choices and trade-offs. There was one thing that really stuck to me for a long time, and that was that every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. If you say yes to eating a banana, you could be saying no to eating peanut butter. But sometimes we just grab whatever is in front of us. We just do what is presented to us. So I've been really consciously working on being very selective with what I say yes to, because I know that if I say yes to going to a conference, I'm saying no to being home with my family. That's a huge decision. It's not just the decision that you see, it's the opportunities that you're missing elsewhere. So being very careful with every decision that you make and making sure that it aligns to you and your goals, because not only are you saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else, whether it's in diet, whether it's in work, whether it's how you spend your time. If you're saying yes to scrolling on your phone, you're saying no to interacting with the people around you. That's a huge decision. So I'm trying to really make sure that I'm living with intentionality and not just letting things happen to me. And that's why sometimes I become unavailable. If you don't do this, you definitely should. It's either just blocking certain times or even certain days where you are just unavailable. Like there's times throughout the day where my phone just does not work. It goes on airplane mode. I put it on do not disturb. I put it in a cookie jar. I do whatever. Or even with my family, sometimes I need to be unavailable for 2 hours so that I can get 4 hours worth of work done in 2 hours. And I will actually go somewhere. I'll go to my office and I'll work there because I know that I can be super productive there and nobody's gonna bother me. So if you can have times of being unavailable where you're off your phone, you're not getting interrupted by people, and you can get meaningful work done, whether that meaningful work is exercise, whether it's just thinking and letting your mind declutter, whether it's getting something done, scheduling times to become unavailable is life-changing. One thing, multitasking can reduce productivity by up to 40%. And this doesn't only apply to like trying to do multiple things at once, but also having multiple goals that you're like trying to do a bunch of things at the same time. Generally, I've realized that in order to make real progress, you need to have a lack of balance. So instead of trying to accomplish a goal in fitness, a goal in relationships, a goal in business, a goal in lifestyle, a goal of like my hobbies, I will purposely find the one goal that will make all of the other ones a little bit better and put all of my energy on that, or most of my energy on that. And then after I hit that goal, I can shift to the next one. And that's where I've found I've actually made progress. Instead of just treading water in a bunch of different things, you need to actually become slightly unbalanced in order to make, real progress. And that's just finding the one thing that is more important and will make everything else better. It's also a book called The One Thing. Highly recommend. Literally changed my life. Avoid decision fatigue. We make decisions from the second we wake up to the second we go to bed. And that's why I have set up my life to make as few decisions as humanly possible, because I don't like to make them. When I do make them, I want to make them important decisions. So like before bed, I lay out my clothes from the night before. And even when I'm picking the clothes, I wear all black all the time, and I don't have to worry about it. Just close my eyes, pick something, that's what I'm gonna wear. That's like one less decision I have to make for the rest of my life. And if you can find one decision that will make 1,000 decisions, it's like 1,000 decisions less, that you have to make. And if you can do that with a bunch of things by kind of routining your life and setting things up that way, you can avoid decision fatigue, which actually like makes the quality of your decisions worse, so that the things that are important, you will have the mental energy to spend on those things that are important. You're not just exhausted by making 500 better decisions before you even go to work on like, oh, what should I do this day? Should I do that? Like everything for me is as routine as possible. And I just like the simplicity of having very routine things that make me feel better. Sunk cost bias. I've noticed this in my own life. Whenever I am decluttering something, or even sometimes when I'm doing an activity, it's because I already invested time or money into that thing. It's not actually because I want to do that thing, or even, it's not because I actually like the clothes. It's because I spent money on it. So I feel this need to keep it. I feel this need to use it. But you got to ask yourself better questions. Does this thing actually add value to my life? Do I actually enjoy this thing? Would I spend money again in order to buy this thing? Or do I just have it because I have it and I spent money on it in the past? This can be very freeing to do. And just because you spent money on it, or just because, you bought it, the money's already gone. That's already happened. What you do afterwards can save you an insane amount of mental space, or just like time or energy back in your life. Win stacking. This is the idea of like voting for the person that you want to become, and by stacking wins and kind of proving to yourself that you are that person. So I became somebody who is healthy and, into fitness and goes to the gym by taking a certain time out of my life. For me, it was like multiple months, and consistently going to the gym almost every day, but at least 5 times a week at the beginning. And every time I went and I did that small thing of just stepping through the door, I worked out for like half an hour and then I left. I was voting to become a healthy person. I was voting to become a fit person. And then eventually, after a couple months, I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, I am that person that I was voting for, because every time I'm just putting in that effort, I'm putting in that little win to continually stack on top of each other. And then that just becomes like an identity for yourself. So whether it's the gym, whether it's eating correctly, whether it's someone who keeps a clean home, just doing small things consistently can actually change, kind of who you are as a person. It can make you a better person because of the track record of the things that you've done. Exploration. Why do I still have these? I originally heard this from the book Essentialism, which is another amazing book, but he was talking about trying things to find what you are passionate about. And looking back over my life, I have tried so many different things, and it was because of that exploration that a lot of good things happened in my life. Like I tried a bunch of businesses before I found one that A, I was good at, and B, I enjoyed. YouTube. I tried a bunch of clothes before I found out that I just like wearing all black and like this certain style. And exploration and looking at life as like exploring and constantly being open to trying new things and finding better ways to do stuff, and not just sticking with what you've done in the past, is a great way to like add excitement to life, but also to find new things that you might like, or you might enjoy, or might make your life easier or better in some way, just by having an open mind and being open to new ideas and trying new things. Perform the great reset. Bum, bum, bum.
The Great Reset.
Shout out Ryan. For me, every generally couple months, I have to reset a bunch of areas in my life, because I suck as a minimalist just in general, and just like keeping my life the way I want it to be. I'm not very good at that. So sometimes I need to reset things. I'll take a month and we'll do a no spend month. We do generally do that a couple times a year, but we'll spend on nothing but absolute necessities, no clothes, no anything online, nothing but like food, electricity, and all that type of stuff, which also saves you money. So there you go. But sometimes I also need to take a break from technology. Sometimes I need to take a break from activities that I'm doing, from working too much. I need to reset an entire room or my entire house. I actually just came off doing that for like a month, and I even kind of documented some of the process and wrote down some of the things that I did, and made like a 30-day reset challenge that you guys can do if you want to kind of follow along the process and reset your life and get it back the way you want it. Totally free. I'll leave a link down below. But I think if you haven't reset a bunch of areas in your life recently, not only when you do it is it fun to do, but also you just feel like so much lighter afterwards. I feel like we have this fear of being alone, of not listening to music or a podcast or texting with a friend, that we're missing out on something. But once you start to actually embrace time alone, maybe not too much and being lonely, but actually being okay with quiet time, with alone time, when I've started doing this, it's actually allowed my brain to kind of decompress and released a lot of stress in my life, which leads into limiting social media. If you're lonely or anxious, limiting social media be an absolute game changer. There's even some research about this. If I ever find that I'm on socials too much, I try to do a little bit of a reset with that as well, and I have never regretted it. If you get rid of Instagram for a week, you will not miss anything. But if it's not social media and it's just screens in general, try scheduling screen time. Whether that's only allowing your TV to be on at a certain time of the day, or not allowing phones in certain rooms or on at certain times, this can boost your productivity and overall happiness without really taking much work. Engage in high quality leisure activities. I recently gave up video games and pretty much all TV, and I've replaced that time with more exercise, working out, hanging out with friends, building things. And although sometimes it's harder to actually start start those things, I always feel better than I would have if I just sat for an hour on the couch doing absolutely nothing. Like, it's still fine to do that occasionally, but if that's a daily habit where you're spending 3 hours a day on the couch, try replacing that with learning a new language or guitar or building something. It's so much more fun. Manage your attention, not just your time. The 90% rule. This rule pretty much changed my life. It's kind of like the most extreme version of the 80-20 rule. I think I heard this from Essentialism. And it's pretty much, if something is not a 90 or above, I'm not gonna say yes to it. If it's not a heck yes, then it's a no. So whether it's a commitment I'm gonna do, clothes I'm gonna buy, even the food, pretty much anything I can apply this to, if it's not a 90 or above, I'm gonna get rid of it, or I'm not gonna bring it into my life. Everything popular is wrong. I generally just assume that if I see a bunch of ads for something, or it's a trend to buy something, or even things like Black Friday, if everybody's going out shopping, whatever most people are doing, I don't want to do, because most Americans especially are overweight, they're depressed, they're lonely, they have, you know, health issues, they have no money. And if you follow the path that everybody else is going, eventually that will probably be you. So I just kind of assume that whatever everybody else is doing is probably not the best thing to do for me in my life. So I'm just going to assume it's not and look for a different path. Sometimes there's not one there, but a lot of times there is one that's actually easier. Wide is the gate. Upgradelessness. We're in this era right now where everybody is constantly upgrading. When a new phone comes out, they get the new phone just because it's a newer phone than the older phone that's now like a year and a half old but works totally fine, even though that same money could reduce their stress, could buy them some freedom. For me, if something is not broke and actually worn out, I will not upgrade, I will not replace until I actually need to. Enjoying work. As a minimalist, I try to make sure that my life is designed for me and I'm actually living it by design and not by default. And that's actually why I got out of my cleaning job. I kind of defaulted into this job. It was my dad's company. I grew up cleaning office buildings, and that was something that I kind of fell into. However, it did not make me happy. It was not fulfilling. It had, you know, a low ceiling on how much I could make. And therefore, I took time on the nights and weekends to try other opportunities so I could eventually move out with that and not just stay there for the next 20 years, because that's what I fell into, you know, as a kid. And I think if you don't enjoy your work, you should ask if this is something that just kind of happened, or is this what you chose to do to enjoy the rest of your life, these hundreds and thousands of hours that you're going to spend there? Are you actually enjoying them, or is it just something that happened to you? Valuefulness. For me, this means spending my money on things that actually bring me value and asking, would I rather have, you know, $10 of freedom or this hamburger? If I'm hungry, it's gonna be the hamburger. If maybe a hamburger is not a good analogy. Would I rather have $1,000, which can compound over time and, you know, buy me freedom, or would I rather have a newer phone? When you understand compound interest and how $1,000 invested can be insane money later on, it starts making a lot of decisions for you. And I value my life and my freedom way more than stuff. So spend valuefully. That was horrible. Healthfulness. This pretty much just means to me that I am going to always invest money, time, energy, and focus into my health. For me, that means buying grass-fed meat from a farm up the road, because my entire family, we can literally like feel better after we eat that than we do when we buy stuff at the store. So we are willing to invest more money and time into making ourselves feel better and be healthier, because that is something that is really important to us, feeling the best we possibly can. Even if it means spending a little more money, that's worth it for our healthfulness. I really got to come up with better names for these. But until I do, be an intentionalist. This just means being very intentional with how you spend your time and how you spend your money. Making sure every time you spend either of them, it is aligned with one of your goals, because a shocking amount of time we actually spend our time and money on things that we know physically and mentally hurt us. You only have so much life, you only have so much money, be intentional with it. And then of course, you need to be selfish. This was something that was hard for me, but you also have to realize, much like being on an airplane where you're supposed to put your own air mask on before you do other people, if you're not mentally in a great spot, it's hard to be the best partner and the best parent or whatever that you can be, the best employee. If your health is trash because you're not taking care of yourself and you have low energy and brain fog, it's gonna be hard to be the best version of yourself for others. So if you wanna take care of other people, sometimes you have to start with yourself. You have to be a little bit selfish, make sure that you're in a good space so that you can help other people. If it's clutter-free, it's for me and you, hopefully. This is hard because clutter tends to like just come up out of nowhere. It just spawns. It's super annoying. But if you feel stressed out in your house, you probably just have too much stuff, and sometimes it's hard to know what that is. So here's a couple things you can do. One, go through ruthlessly, grab a bunch of crap, put it in a box, put that box in your garage or your attic, and then set a reminder on your phone to check that in like 6 months. If you don't need to go back in that box for the next 6 months, don't even open it up. Just put it in the back of your car, donate it. That's literally the easiest way to trick yourself into decluttering. Not that I have to do that regularly, because even as a 5-year minimalist, I still have a hard time decluttering, but it really works. The other thing you can do, ask a friend to come over. If you have a friend who's pretty clean and has no attachment to your crap, invite them to come over and help you declutter for an afternoon, for a day, for an hour. Sometimes you just need somebody to tell you that that fuzzy blanket that you didn't even know that you had because it was at the bottom of a barrel, but you are so attached to because somebody gave it to you for Christmas 8 years ago, you don't need it. Sometimes you just need a friend to lovingly slap you across the face. Quality over quantity, less but better, but especially when applied to clothes. I generally have like 2 pairs of shoes, 1 winter jacket, very minimal amount of, pants and shirts, but everything I do have is generally a little bit more expensive, a little bit higher quality, because I noticed that when I was buying cheaper stuff constantly, not only would it just be uncomfortable every day, but it was also not actually really cheaper because I had to keep cycling through stuff. The stuff would wear out, the seams would come apart, even like appliances and stuff would break or just not work when they were cheaper. So sometimes it's better to buy once and have it last for like 5-10 years than it is to just continually buy the cheap stuff that's on sale and hope that it works and it's okay and it fits all right. Quality over quantity. Embrace boredom. Yeah, I know, like most people don't like being bored, but it turns out it's not, such a bad thing. In fact, I think we need to be bored more often. We need to have nothing to do and not feel guilty about having nothing to do for half an hour. We don't need to fill that with, some type of noise with doing something. We just need space. It's okay to be bored. It's okay to let your mind wander. It's okay to daydream every once in a while and do the things that you did when you were a kid. In fact, it's some of the most fun that I have. Separate work and life. Kind of. If you're somebody who works from home or you bring your work home with you a little bit, try to be really conscious and leave your work, in your office or at your desk or on your laptop or on your phone or whatever, and not bring it with you into the rest of the house can be a huge mental relief. Honestly, this is something I've been trying to do for a while. I really struggle with this. So this point's really for me. It's something I'm focusing on right now because it's so easy to just think about work 24/7 when you have your own business, but I know it's not mentally good for me. Digitally declutter. Look at that. Look at that. Literally like last week, this entire thing was completely covered with random crap. And since I took like half a day and I decluttered my online and like my firmware digital clutter and like got tons of apps off my phone, it was great. It's been so much less stressful. I work more productively. I can find things better. I built like organization folders and stuff. If you haven't digitally decluttered in a while, you really need to. Turn it off. Since I turned off notifications, like all notifications besides like from family members on my phone, I've been on my phone so much less. I get distracted less. I'm more productive with work. I'm more present in conversations with people. There's just so many benefits to not having any notifications on unless it's like a family member so that if they're dying, they can get in touch with you. Nobody else really can. And then you just schedule times where you get back to people, but you don't get like your phone doesn't buzz in the middle of a conversation. It doesn't buzz in your pocket while you're driving, while you're working. You can just focus on life and not constantly be brought back out of it. Explore the 2-minute rule and use it regularly. If you're not familiar with this, you can use it in 2 different ways. One, if you're trying to start a new habit, just commit to the first 2 minutes of the habit, nothing else. So that's reading 1 page of a book, going and sitting in the car, going, driving to the gym and then being okay with backing out. Or 2, if you have a project that needs to get done and you've been thinking about doing it, you're just like, it's just been like 6 months and you haven't gotten stuff done, like little things, you can do it in 2 minutes or less. Just do it immediately. Wash the dishes right now. Hang that picture on the wall. Clean up that thing that's been in the hall forever. If you can get it done in 2 minutes or less, just get it taken care of and reduce your stress. Don't chase the numbers. When it comes to minimalism, a lot of times you can get caught up following other people or trying to get down to a certain number of possessions or trying to get rid of a certain number of possessions, because there's all these trends and stuff. So if that's something that you're feeling guilty about and you're struggling with, because like, oh well, this person's house looks so nice, or oh, I have 2,000 items and this person only has 150 items, man, I'm doing it wrong, like something's wrong with me. If you're struggling with any of that, just totally let it go. The 90-90 rule. This one's a great hack to declutter, and that's simply saying if you haven't used it in the last 90 days and you don't expect to use it in the next 90 days, then you're okay just getting rid of that item. Makes decluttering super simple. The 1-1 rule. This one's very simple. If one thing comes into your life, make sure one thing comes out of your life. This will keep your house from building up clutter and might also stop you from bringing stuff in because it's kind of a chore to actually get rid of something, but it's a good one to set in place. If you want to go extreme, make it the 2-1 rule. Everything that's got to come in, 2 things go out. It's actually pretty good. If you enjoyed this video, you will love this video right here on 50 ways to save money and improve your finances. It's actually very good. Plus, if you want to reset your life, you can check out the free course down below. See you next week.